This is our last video of 2021, so we ran a community post poll for our final suggestion. A terrible Pixar movie or a scene that changed an Illumination movie? Pixar it is! The terrible Good Dinosaur. And since this is our last chance, I'll just tell you up front for the only time, we're on hiatus through all of January, but streaming every day on Twitch, so come on over. Otherwise, I'll see you in February after this. The terrible Good Dinosaur. Was it really a surprise that this was our Pixar pick? I adore absolutely everything Pixar, but everybody fails somewhere. And this film is just not good. Dinosaur. I never watched this in cinemas, thankfully, but I watched it at home once. I don't remember it. So today, let's re-jog our memories of how the biggest guys can flop. Maybe we'll learn something along the way. Or maybe our memories of this too will go extinct. We begin 65 million years ago, where a single meteor is sent careening to Earth, the countries aren't quite formed up yet, and it flies right past. A nice gag. Quiet. And now later on we have the human period, or whatever it's called, giving us loads of super realistic shots of Earth underlaid by some calming music that I can't pinpoint the genre of. Nature fantasy, I guess. I'm playing it underneath these lines of script from me, and as much as there's no story yet, the soundtrack to this movie seems phenomenal. Like a beautiful, emotive story is brewing. Anyway, we're now on the homeland of our family, prepping up the fences to mark their home, towering high against the setting sun and having unfathomable strength to just throw trees in the distance. It's like a superpower, but realistic. And then we see them farming, laying out crop paths and dropping in seeds. What an interesting character design. Societally evolving dinosaurs. And mixing it with their unique stature. I'm not a character designer, but I love the concept of them. But now they've got eggs hatching. The first one is joyful, the second one hyperactive and smacking everything, and the third one a runt in the biggest egg of them all. This is our protagonist.
Hello, Arlo.
The shyest of the group, but getting used to it. The humor's alright so far, though not too grand, and I like the little piano cues scattered in. And so as a family, they all grow up and take care of the farm, playing around in the fields, spraying each other with water, and Arlo is set to feed the birds? Again, you can see it's a gag, but it's not really that laugh out loud funny. I guess it's kinda safe in a way, but this fear thing is something Arlo needs to address. So Dad has just finished building a silo. It's time to put his mark on it.
Put your mark on there, Henry. You earned it.
Yeah, Papa, do it. Come on.
Yeah. No, but really, it's much more wholesome, a mud footprint.
You've got to earn your mark by doing something big for something bigger than yourself.
Oh yeah, you can tell this is the emotive thematic thing. And so, the kids continue farming. Older brother Buck soon makes his mark clearing trees, and so does Libby for paving the seeds. But little Arlo remains useless against the coop.
He'll get there.
You know, so far it's kind of like a short film. A small goal, not too out of reach. But let's see where this goes.
All right, you clockers.
Oh geez, he really means business now. But actually, the plot now goes sideways, because on site is...
And then they attacked.
Oh, never mind. It's just a fake out. The story's not going to go that dramatic in the end. Keep it slice of lifey. You know, boring. Instead, it's here to kick Arlo more into action for his motivation.
I'm gonna make my mark. Forget it. I didn't even want that dumb mark anyway.
Or not. I guess you got to extend the plot somehow, since I imagine Arlo was about to conclude right there and then before. So what follows that night is Arlo's dad brings him out into the middle of a spooky field. Is the little runt going to be killed off by tactical offspring selection? Actually, no. It leads to a beautiful scene with fireflies, provoking them with their tails, bringing light into the darkness and trying to learn a mini lesson within that.
Sometimes you gotta get through your fear to see the beauty on the other side.
It's a pretty scene, though not the most powerful lesson. Still, Dad's then got a new task for Arlo tomorrow. It is to take on the defense role. Their silo of food is regularly raided, so cue the montage of learning how to lay traps. More dinosaurs doing human things, but this time not so dinosaurified. But alright, one final catch though.
And this is how you're gonna finish the job.
This is a killer's role. The conflict continues, but the motivation sticks around. Cut to Arlo in defense mode, still not harming a single thing, not a bug, not even a leaf, but of course, immediately, the critter has been caught, and it's a child. Arlo's not built to handle something so feral, but then it stops being feral and starts just choking. So Arlo releases it out of fear, wanting to let it go free? Okay, seems like the opposite of the solution, but sure, he's a friendly dino. A good one. And the father immediately spots it and punishes him for it. If they can't handle the critter on the farm, then they'll just have to follow it beyond the farm. Scary stakes. And the pathetic fallacy Rain has come in too, of course.
What if we get lost?
As long as you can find the river, you can find your way home.
Remember that for later. The tracks are fading, time to speed up, and the lightning's coming in. Just as things are heating up, Arlo can't keep up, hurting his ankle at the first hurdle. He really is just not built to survive out here. And so his father actually backs down. He's a gentle figure too, and knows when he's pushed his son too far. That's actually quite sweet. Welp, a flash flood means it's time to recreate a very wet Lion King. That's actually quite a heartbreaking look. Now forget the mark being a conflict. With Papa gone, the family are at risk to fall during the winter, and Arlo needs to take on more. Mama here is growing weak from overworking, but she's still optimistic. So as Arlo refills the silo, that unwelcome guest has returned.
You've got some nerve coming here.
And yeah, I'd be pretty mad too.
It's all your fault!
You can pin him for the death of the dad, and he's actively killing the family's chances of survival. Sure, I guess there's room for the rest of the family to blame Arlo for the death and struggles. I imagine that's how the funeral went down, but I guess we'll never see the siblings' thoughts on the matter. Cause yes, baby weak Dino will now mysteriously disappear at the worst time for the dying family. But this here is just visually incredible, right down to the reflected light from the water. Say what you will about the plotline, but this really feels like a powerhouse of Pixar production for realism, minus the cartoony character designs. And it's here the Good Dinosaur tries to have more of a Wall-E effect. There's just one guy and no one around to talk to.
Mama?
Mostly. Okay, actually no, this could have been a Wall-E approach, but rather, there's two characters and one just doesn't talk, and the other
I should have killed you the first time!
will blurt out every thought that crosses their mind. Would it have been better without? Maybe? But it's interesting to point out the difference. We like our artsy, non-verbal stuff, but maybe it just wouldn't do right. So, with Arlo getting a vantage point atop the mountain peaks, he finds a new goal. Get back home and follow the river, in reverse order. Cue the montage of eating bugs and fruit. Man, this really is the Lion King. Oh, well, except this guy is dead in a day. What an awful, sad start, fading to night where he's given up. Oh, but he survives the entire night. Lucky enough to see track marks left by the child. Don't need lines to express that one. And then we get these beautiful shots again, looking like the title card to a Pixar short and a reference to a dead Pixar project. But with a literal new footing, it's time for some ingenuity. Arlo silently builds better and better shelter as a crowd watch condescendingly. I like that. And then the human comes back with gifts of food. Is decapitation allowed in a kids movie? By the way, I was stunned around here when I moved my mouse slightly because we're a third of the way through the film. We're literally at step 1 of the central relationship and it's almost halfway in. But anyway, the little boy is on the move, so Arlo follows. Along the ridges, across a cliff, and ow! Those poor teeth! But it's cool that the little kid's hard to predict. We can't understand him. this kid's really built to just die, eh? But now the cave child coming in to attack, truly taking Arlo in as one of his own, and finishing up with an expression I think we can all recognize. That's it. That's the premise. There's the dynamic. Time for something new.
Hello.
A new character, in the form of a Styracosaurus in disguise. It's nice to see something new to the formula. And this guy wants to claim the child for protection, a symbiotic relationship, like his others.
This is Dream Crusher. He protects me from having unrealistic goals.
This is probably one of the best jokes in the movie. Nice. If we don't factor in Debbie.
And this is Debbie.
But anyway, after a brief kid naming contest passes and Debbie refuses to take no for an answer, the Styracosaurus runs off and we never see him again. So they were just here for a joke? Or to give the child a name? Or what was the point? It's kind of naff to not be a recurring character now. And so the two continue their travels, playing a game of blow a mole for a couple of gags. I like the expressions. Now we're in a lake, where Arlo quickly learns to swim via observation. Aww. And then they eat fermented fruit and get high. Honestly, I'm surprised this is still accepted in kids' movies. I mean, I'm fine with it, but it seems like one of those things from classic kids' movies that's so intertwined with those old visuals that I would have assumed it died out with them. You know, like cigarettes everywhere. But no. Get some of those weird internet cow video vibes in there. But you know, it also kind of ends real quick. I mean, I'm not expecting a full 5-minute musical like Dumbo or anything, but this is literally 22 seconds. 2 things happen. Is that what the issue with this movie is? Nothing is explored in depth. You have one-beat characters, a glimpse of a fun moment, and skimmed over as quickly as possible? I don't know yet, but it certainly helps to make this all unmemorable. Even the recovery is one shot. Held up by one note and then jumps to nighttime. Now reaching a field, Arlo can show the newly named Spot the Firefly reveals his father showed him. And it's beautiful again. For 2 whole shots. We gotta move on. Oh, but we get a slight expansion. Spot tries to contain a single firefly and Arlo is the one to light it up with a simple blow. So the two watch it fly off into the distance. By the way, I'll never have a better time to mention this, but as a kid, I literally thought fireflies were fantasy. In the same realm as like fairies and giants. Still never seen one in real life. Brit life. But anyway, we're now slap bang halfway through the movie, and the fireflies remind Arlo of the bigger picture.
I miss my family.
Ah yes, it's finally time for the heart-to-heart, talking about family. But how do you communicate that across species? Well, Arlo does so physically, building his family circle. And to our surprise, the human does it too. And even more so than that, he can articulate that his parents are gone, already buried. And though we've never seen it, he's disheartened by grief like anybody else. All the while shown with this beautiful lake backdrop. And for the first time in a while, Arlo can actually sit down with his grief.
I miss him.
The two aren't so different in the end after all, and bonds can be made across language barriers.
So if the meteor never hit, then humans would have become furries. Oh, I see.
But really, this is a classic emotional Pixar scene. I can't believe I forgot this. My heart! And now it's morning, and they're closer than ever. Time for a joke! I mean, it gets a chuckle, I guess. But then we move on. This is a weird formula. It's stormy now, and with it getting worse in the distance, the trauma from Papa's death is too much for Arlo, and so he remembers, imagines, freaks out, and runs to hide from it all, leaving the human behind. And in this darkness, let me pass you my links and a poke to subscribe. Look, 76,000 people have hit the bell. Want to help boost that number up? Please. And now the storm's over. Even Big Drama gets a skimming job. But now the river is out of sight and Arlo just can't handle the disorientation. Enter our next set of characters. I hope they're not one beat. A Nyctosaurus, Colchicephalus. God, why did I write them all out? A Nyctosaurus, Colchicephalus, and a Ludodactylus. or thunderclap, downpour, and cold front. They're out looking for those injured by the storm and are willing to help Arlo find his way back home. That's cool. A rescue team. Well, until Arlo comes to a revelation about them. Turns out there are antagonists, 60% of the way in, and they like human. Time to run! Out in the distance is a big dinosaur, only to turn out to be a couple of T-Rexes. Classic!
That one should 100% be dead.
Anyway, lucky for us, the Tyrannosauruses are completely friendly.
Well, ain't you just the cutest thing?
And a deal is to be made. The biggest one doesn't want them around, but with them losing a whole herd of food, Arlo suggests using the human's acute sense of smell to sniff them out. Symbiotic relationships. Except, in real life, a T-Rex apparently had a great sense of smell. One that's only slightly less powerful than that of a house cat. How well can a house cat smell? Well, apparently they have 200 million odor sensors in their noses. Compare that to a human's with 5 million, and apparently that works out to be 14 times better, despite 50 times the sensors. So, I guess this human is actually a special breed? Nurtured to be a wild child, but also with the genes to get superhuman senses? Whatever. And so, Spot directs the dinos past a ravine to attack a bug, and then fakes out the fake out. Time to speed up. Is that really how the T-Rexes would have run? Anyway, they reach the herd.
Need you to keep on the dodge and sidle up the loblolly past them hornheads.
What?
This is a good joke in a vacuum, but why is it here? This guy doesn't notoriously have an accent, he's just being difficult. These jokes, man, they're like uncanny, like a marionette puppet or a robot reading from a faulty scripting formula. But Arlo needs to make a distraction. Success! It brings out the Rustlers, another gang of antagonists, just like the Dactyl from before, but a lot more upfront about their evilisms. And again, they've got a formula.
Oh, come on, Bubba. Ask me what I think they're doing. Hermes?
It's that stereotypical, goofy comic relief villain member. It's fine here, just never breaking any new grounds. And so, just as they attack, the T-Rexes come in, of course, and herd the herd along their way as well. And as the Velociraptors bring down the big guy, Arlo comes in with some character development. And Biggie takes care of the rest. The Velociraptors are dealt with. There goes the John Ratzenberger reference. Just one line.
Kill him!
We'll never see them again. So the dinos and the child set up camp for the night. Playing a bug as a harmonica? Why isn't there more of this kind of creativity? I love it when it's there. But on to the topic of scars, Butch here now tells his.
I bent down to take a drink when these crocs launched out of the water. And the last one, well, I drowned that croc in my own blood.
Very cool. A perfect campsite story. But then we get talking about fears, the theme of the movie finally cropping back up.
Who said I'm not scared?
This whole time, Arlo has been struggling with his fears of anything and everything around him, but really, it's not something to obliterate completely.
If you ain't scared of a croc biting you on the face, you ain't alive. But you can get through it. You can find out what you're made of.
That's the real message of the movie. Fear is inevitable, but it is something you can conquer. Not in the sense of being fearless, but just enduring through it. So it's still conquering fear, just with a different outlook, which is fine, but practically, it doesn't look or feel any different. So it's just, But the snow's coming in. Time to get Arlo to his family, which the T-Rexes are happy to help with. Being granted a new role on the commute, herding the strays back on course. Something Arlo can actually do. Not that his scream roar is really all that different. But oh well. With that happy revelation, Arlo also finally spots the mountains by his home. And with the Rexes going south, it's time to part ways.
You hurry on back to your mama and don't stop for nothing.
And so it's the final stretch of land. The kids have a river to follow, smiles on their faces, and the music crescendos as they disturb a flock of birds. Another one of those beauty moments that I'm not sure YouTube compression can handle. And by sunset, they're up on the mountains. Music triumphant as, wow, Arlo flings the child beyond the clouds. That's really cool to play around with, giving us this mesmerizing shot. This project really doesn't pull its punches with showing what it can achieve. But as they awoo in victory, something responds. Humans again. It's the kids' people. And for the first time, maybe the two will be separated. And Arlo interacts by taking the child away, taking them to their home. And then the rain kicks in. It's trauma time, baby. And on top of that, something in the clouds. This is pretty cool. It's like reverse shark fins. It's Thunderclap again! More than just another one-beat character, he's got 2 beats. And successfully kidnapping the child away. And I never noticed this the first time, the sad, distant awoo the kid calls out. But what follows next is another one of those emotional Pixar highlight scenes. As Arlo is saved by his dad again, silently pushing him out and directing him to safety. A moment of comfort once again, but as Arlo calls out to help his friend, he just keeps walking. Until Arlo notices he's not leaving footsteps.
You're not here.
But as Arlo explains that he wants to go help Spot despite being scared, Papa finally pipes up with,
I knew you had it in you. You're me and more.
And just like that, he fades away. It's kind of a simple scene, but you gotta love a good dead dad ghost scene. Especially with the slow realization, hey, this is just Lion King again! But you know what Lion King didn't have?
How's about a simulation of all of the light refracting through each and every one of these raindrops as it flies past in these close-up shots of Arlo? Holy damn!
I mean, we don't really need this detail, but my god, is it impressive to see. It's RGB! And so, invigorated with Papa's blessing, Arlo sets himself free and sprints for the child! He no longer needs the thing he originally needed so immediately. Only calls for a woo used to direct him on sight, and like the courageous dino he is, he fights back to protect his friend. But Arlo is soon lifted away, so he has to react the only way he can. I guess he could have done Buck's job all along. I feel like it could have been cooler if he did something he actually learned on the journey. Like if he learned how to spin when learning to swim, so he could use the same leg movement here to get free. Well, you know, something not so underwhelming in the scheme of things. But it works.
The storm provides!
Time for the final bit. Bring up all your strength, defy your role as the runt of the litter, and... Oh, I thought that was full-on a full-size dino assisting, but no, that's just him. Glad he finally got there eventually. Gruesome. I'm surprised that the one creature to actually rip off any flesh, despite all the bitings and chomps we've seen, have only come from the kid. Humans truly are the biggest monsters. And to finish it all off with something that is actually callbackable.
And this is how you're gonna finish the job.
Nice. But there's just one more thing. The highest of stakes for the last scenario. Another flash flood. Lion King didn't get a second stampede, but this time Arlo is in the protector role, diving against the waves, against the lightning light. That's a nice touch as he goes to grab the unconscious child. Oh hey, he does use those swimming lessons. Okay, that's good. Finally catching on right as they fall down a massive drop. They're out, but Spot isn't awake. Okay, you know how this one goes. We've covered practically every other cliche up to this point. It's no surprise that this is the last one-ish. And the two are safe. We're in the final 7 minutes now. The two calmly walk to the final outlook, overseeing the farm of Arlo's family.
We're home, Spot.
But of course, this isn't the true ending. That human is back again. As we all know at this point, Spot's place doesn't belong with Arlo and the dinos. He's got his own home to get to, his own people to meet. And DreamWorks needs inspiration for a franchise later on. Oh, never mind, that was first. I don't know if it's supposed to reflect something more modern or it's just for the emotion of it all, but there's barely any real Foley sounds now. It's just song. As Arlo slowly comes to realize that this is Spot's place. It's where he is truly happy, and that Arlo must part ways with the boy despite their bond. And though the boy may try to come back several times, Arlo finalizes by articulating literally the only way they can, by drawing one big circle with the family all inside. Damn, this is good. The people take Spot's hand and slowly walk away, sending him off with one final and with that loose end handled, Arlo returns to the farm. With the same shots as his father in the prologue? This is great!
Henry?
Oh, even the mama sees it like that. And as Arlo is welcomed back all together, we finish it off, of course, with Arlo leaving his mark on the silo. The fact that the family were to survive the winter shows he kind of wasn't needed all that much in the end, as I guess the mama overworking handled the job. But yeah, wow. That should really be a good Pixar movie, but somehow something was missing through it. This movie did terribly because people remember it terribly. For me, I remember it was exactly here that my brain shut off and I literally verbalized to myself, oh, I just don't care. I'm bored. Maybe it was the context of watching it on a slow day, because the emotive scenes are there, and watching them properly, they're pretty great. But at the same time, the dialogue that's in the rest of this film is just hollow. There are jokes scattered about, but far more fall flat than succeed. I mean, they're so uncanny.
Yesterday, you said Footless Fran was the worst.
He's only got 1 foot.
Yeah, I gathered that.
It's like the whole movie is faking it to make it, and it's just not making it. It is just a formula that's being so mild that it's not hitting at all. I mean, every cliche under the sun is here. The litter of the runt, scared and anxious, the rabid wild child, the father dies, surviving the wild. The acid trip, the scary storm, the evil pack again, the river disaster, the letting your partner go. It's all been done better in oh so many forms. And anything that is remotely interesting isn't explored any further. Like, I really like some of the imaginative ideas they play with, but it's like this movie can't balance between if it wants to be realistic or if it wants to be quirky. At the very least, the soundtrack is lovely and beautiful. That nature fantasy genre is nice, but it's also kind of underwhelming for a lot of it. It doesn't support or bolster the action on screen sometimes. It's like they're all brief showcases and not a connected story. Like, this is literally a tech demo to show some realism prowess and fun gags to highlight them. Even this plot feels more like the contents of a short that's just been ballooned to a 90-minute runtime. Which is a shame, because there are some really good moments in here and evidence of some pretty great directing as well. I really like a lot of this movie, it turns out, but so much of the execution just misses the mark. Maybe I really would have enjoyed it more as a silent piece, or at the very least without so much of the But at the end of the day, if there's anything to take away from the worst of Pixar's catalog, it's this. Pixar may be seen as the animation studio on top, but everyone has faults, and sometimes the bigger they are, the harder they fall. There you go, if this movie's so cliche, I'll be cliche too. We will never enjoy a realism spin on The Lion King from Disney or Pixar, and after witnessing this movie for hours at this point, I think I'm gonna scratch an itch that has brewed from seeing all these visuals. I'm gonna go play Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks so much like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our stuff this past year. Our hiatus begins now, but we're back in streaming form every day from January 8th. Here's the mock-up of our schedule notes. Come join anytime. Keep updated by following our Twitter. Here's all my links one final time, and I'll catch you in essay form in February. For now, my name's been Dazz. You didn't really care. I love you all. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in a little bit. Merry Crimbles!